Unto the angel of the church at Ephesus write, these things saith he that holdeth the 7 stars in his right hand, who walks in the midst of the 7 golden candlesticks. Do you believe Paul was a prophet? Sure he was. Certainly he was. Remember that night, the vision on the stormy sea and so forth? Now this is Paul, a prophet, foretelling what would come to pass.
As I was sitting down on the hillside wandering the other day, about daylight, and I was thinking, why would Demas want to leave that fella? Why would he leave that poor little preacher that led him to the Lord? The man who spearheaded the revival amongst the Gentiles. A prophet indeed. No one could say but what he was a prophet. He is more than a prophet, he is an apostle. Yeah. And a great and mighty apostle to the Gentiles. You see, Paul had a ministry greater than all the rest of the apostles put together.
Amen.
Some of them could have said, well, I walk with Jesus. One man on the street walked with him when he was here. But Paul saw him in the pillar of fire after he was dead, buried, ascended into heaven, and returned back and called Paul.
Amen.
On the road down to Damascus. And he had a greater ministry than Matthew, Mark, Luke, or any of them others. He was far beyond them. And he said, except I get exalted now, and say, now you fellows don't know nothing about it. I seen the Lord after His resurrection. Well, they say, we walked with Him. So did all that people down around Galilee and Nazareth and through the country there. They all walked with Him. But you see, Paul had talked with Him and saw Him in the form that He was before He was made flesh.
Amen.
And He commissioned Paul in that state.
Amen.
While he was in that life, He commissioned Paul. And Paul had saw him, and he said, except I'd get exalted, I feel a little higher than some of you, brother. There was given to me a messenger of the devil that keeps him beat down. And he said, I sought the Lord 3 times to take it away from me. And he said, Paul, my grace is sufficient. Then Paul said, I'll glory in my infirmities. Because when I'm weak, then I am strong. See? I will glory in it. Now, did you notice? Now, a man that had a ministry greater than any of the rest of them that have been on the field, Paul, the greatest ministry of all of them, that had seen Jesus in a pillar of fire and commissioned Him to do what He done, and was vindicated by the same God and the the same power, but signs and wonders beyond any question, and was so poor he only had one coat. Preaching to a bunch of people that would have plucked their eyes out, and some of them millionaires. And yet Paul had one coat. He said, bring that coat. It's getting cold up here. He's in the mountain country. He only had one coat. Money ain't God.
Amen.
There's only one God. See? But people think because you have a big ministry, you ought to own all this and all these great big things and big schools and big so and so. God doesn't deal in them things. Or at least that's been my opinion. God deals with an individual.
Amen.
He never did ordain us to go do such things. But Paul, with one coat, and he tells Timothy here to bring it to him because it's getting cold up there. A man that had a ministry that preached to the tens of thousands that Paul did, and a ministry that could do all kinds of miracles and seen Jesus in a pillar of fire, commissioned him, and yet own one coat. One coat. But Paul set the example like Christ was. He had one coat.
Amen.
And why does riches and lots of money and things mean so much to people today? Paul was something on an order like Elijah. Each church age had its messenger. We know that. Paul was the first messenger. And when the first trumpet sounded, and the first seal was torn loose, Paul was the first messenger, as we found. And what did he do? Declared war. On what? The Orthodox Church. For not believing the Messiah sign that Jesus had produced to them.
Hallelujah.
Why, they should have known it. They should have known. Remember, Paul come at the end of the age. All the messengers come at the end of the age. It's at the end time when these things are brought forth. Paul, knowing the Scriptures and knowing that Jesus was Messiah, and he blasted those synagogues from place to place with the Scriptures and was put out of every one of them. That finally shook the dust from his feet and turned to the Gentiles.
Amen.
What was it? Sounding of a trumpet. An angel messenger standing there with the Word. Oh my, don't you miss that now. The Word.
Amen.
And Paul, with the unadulterated interpretation of God's Word, blasted every one of them synagogues.
Amen.
Hallelujah.
Cost him his life. I think the greatest thing that Paul wanted when he said,
My time is up now. The greatest desire of Paul's heart was to be a martyr. That was the desire of all their hearts in them days. If you ever read the Fox Book of the Martyrs, also read the Nicene Council, the greatest honor they could be when different ones from Polycarp and them walked into the lines, then they shouted with joy. Walking there knowing that there's going to be a martyr. When he was burnt to the stake, they screamed with joy for the honor of being a martyr. When Paul walked down to that chopping block to have his head cut off, led from that prison house, a little old dungy place down there in a hole in the wall where they had him. I walked down there and looked at it. A little old creek back there where he slammed his body into it. Now I want to make him a saint of something in their same group of people. There he walked down there. He said, "Oh, death, where is your sting? Grave, where is your victory?" But thanks be to God who gives us the victory through the Lord Jesus Christ. I've fought a good fight. I've finished the course. I've kept the faith. There's a crown laid up for me, and not only for me, but all those who love His appearing.